Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit. No influencer status necessary. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and today in episode 0, we're going to cover what you can expect to learn and gain from this show. So we're going to cover what's in it for you, how often new episodes will be released, and what you can expect from them, and a little bit about my background. So let's dive right in. Hosting a summit is one of the most rewarding things you can do for your business. We all know that it can bring major growth for you in terms of email subscribers, income, influence, powerful connections, but it can do powerful things for everyone else involved as well. So there are all kinds of opportunities for your speakers, things like influence for them, email list growth, income. You can also have a life-changing experience for your attendees. You are hosting a huge event with a whole bunch of experts to solve one of their most pressing problems. That can be really transformational for them as well. So keep that in mind. But not surprisingly, it takes a lot to make something like that happen. There are all kinds of moving pieces. As we keep going with this podcast, you are going to see more and more what all goes into this. But it's one of those things that doesn't sound like too much work up front. You kind of know that it's bigger than most things, but you don't really know how much work it is until you start really diving in and you keep uncovering more and more that needs to be done. And then with each new piece you uncover comes a new strategy you need to figure out. And the hamster wheel that keeps coming up there can get really overwhelming fast. And I've created the Summit Host Hangout podcast to help with that. So each time you run into a piece of the process that you're not sure how to tackle, I want you to be able to come here for help. And we'll get to the format in a second, but this is not going to be help that takes you an hour to get the information you need to start implementing. These will be short and action-packed episodes that do not halt your progress. You're going to come here for answers and strategies and go right back to work. So that's what this is all about, making it easy and manageable for you to host a successful online summit. And if you're not in the midst of planning one, I want this to give you all the knowledge and tools you need that when you do get to the planning stage, you know exactly what to do. With all of that being said, though, I do want your feedback. So let me know what you do and don't want to hear about. If there's a guest you'd like to hear from or something you'd like to see done differently, let me know. So go to summithosthangout.com and scroll to the bottom of that page to give me your feedback, or head to the Summit Host Hangout Facebook group. I'm always in there as well. If you love what you hear, though, I'm always appreciative of ratings and reviews. Also, send me a screenshot on Instagram at Summit in a Box so I can give you a shout out there as well. I'm so appreciative if you can hop over and do that for me. Now let's dive into the frequency and format of this show so you know what to expect. We're going to start with new episodes twice per week. So every Tuesday and Thursday, you can expect one new episode to come out. Now, I am not the type to sit and babble about a topic and just drag it out for the sake of hitting, say, a 30-minute episode. So don't be surprised if some of these are 10 minutes or less. I want you to get the information you need on a topic and let you go implement. However, if I do have a lot to say on something or if it's more complex, I'm not going to oversimplify it just to give you a shorter episode either. So I'm going to give you the length that you need to get the information to move forward. As for the format, you can expect each episode to have a short topic introduction and any context you need. We're going to dive right into the topic. We're not going to waste any time. I'm always going to end with some action steps for you so you know exactly what to do after learning. And you can always reference the show notes to review what was talked about and get links to the resources mentioned. I do want to stop for a second and talk about those action steps. I used to be very guilty of listening to podcast episodes one right after another, and I'd be listening like in the car or something and be like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. I need to do that, but I never did. So that's why I'm giving you these action steps after you listen to an episode, especially if you're in the middle of the summit prep process. I really want you to take action. Don't just listen, think that something's a good idea and carry on. Really implement it so you can see the results that will come. And on to the last piece about the format here. After these first few episodes where we're going to break down some of the basics, we are going to jump into themes consisting of about 3 to 5 episodes depending on what each theme needs. So we're going to take a larger topic that goes into hosting a summit and break it down into specific episodes. So for example, we'll have themes like monetizing, finding and managing your speakers, promoting your summit, opening your summit for registration. We are going to break all of those things down into individual pieces so you can come, learn what you need to know about one specific piece, put it into action, and then move on to the next step. Each theme will also generally end with a special guest coming on to speak on their expertise as it relates to our theme. So I know all things summits, but I don't know everything else. So I'm going to bring in people who do know those things and apply their knowledge to summits specifically. So for an example, the first guest I'm going to have is going to be a designer to come talk about branding your summit. I also will have an expert on affiliate marketing that will come in to talk about leveraging affiliates to increase your sales. So things like that. But a little about me and my story before we wrap things up. My name is Krista, and I am the founder of Summit in a Box. Summit in a Box is not my first business. I actually started my first business in 2015, and that business is still going today, and I do WordPress development for designers. And that business did become successful pretty quickly as far as a service-based business goes. A couple years in, though, even though I was booked with clients, I kind of felt like I was at a standstill. Like the clients were coming in, I had some great connections, but I was like, now what? I'm not the type to kind of hit a goal and then be okay with that and just stay there. I always want to be like, okay, what's next? What can I do to move to that next level? And when it came to that time in 2017, I wasn't sure what that meant. I knew that I wanted more visibility. I knew I wanted to make new connections. I knew I wanted a new level of clients to work with. And the answer I eventually came up with was, heck, I want to host a summit. And I won't pretend it was easy. I won't pretend making the decision was easy. I was terrified. I was pretty sure that I was going to go host my first summit and have everyone looking at me being like, who does she think she is to host a summit? Like, no way. Luckily, that's not what happened. I got an amazing response. Everybody was so supportive. I did not receive even a single email from someone asking what I thought I was doing hosting a summit. So if you feel the same way, let that be encouraging to you. But when I was planning that summit, there was very little information. There were maybe a couple people talking about it, but they were talking about it at a level I didn't feel like I was at. They were speaking more to influencers, and I certainly wasn't an influencer. So what I did was take the pieces I could learn from blog posts here and there, maybe podcasts from someone who had hosted a summit. So they weren't necessarily teaching it, but they were just talking about it. I took all of those pieces I could find and pieced it together into my own process. And that's something you might learn about me through this podcast is I'm very process-oriented. I'm very detail-oriented. I love organization. And that definitely played to my benefit here because I was able to make this big, massive process based on very little information, and it worked. So my first summit, my goal was about 2,000 or 3,000. I would have been pretty happy with this, but it actually brought in 16,000 instead. So over 5 times my original goal is what that summit made. And that was my first one. My most recent summit as of recording this, so that summit was April 2019 and brought in 22,000. And if I can do that with a service-based business and a very small email list, you can do it too. And that's why I started this podcast, to make it easy for you, to give you the knowledge you need to pull it off and get amazing results. I want you learning strategies while you're driving to the grocery store, while you're at the gym, while you're taking a walk, doing dishes, maybe working on some easier admin piece in your business that doesn't take a ton of creativity. And I want you to implement those strategies to create an insanely valuable and profitable summit. I am so excited to dive in, and I can't wait to see what this podcast brings for all of you. So thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode of the Summit Host Hangout podcast. If you know that hosting a summit is something you want to do in the near future or far future, be sure to head to summitinabox.co/secrets to get 12 of my most important tips for planning a profitable, visibility boosting, and value-packed online summit. In the next episode, we're going to cover a big summit hosting overview. If the idea of hosting a summit is new to you, it's the perfect next step for you to ensure you know what all goes into a successful online summit. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online